Hello everyone, this is Lucas, and today I'm going to be taking you through the project file of Be My Hero. This is a mashup between Maddion's Be Fine and Little Glee Monster's That's Why I'm Not Alone. This is a collaboration between Shoopfex and I that has been in the works for a very long time. Shoopfex and I originally started talking about collaborating 3 years ago, and it was only until November of last year that I found this combination that I wanted to explore. And from there, we worked together to make this mashup what it is. There were many factors that had to align for this mashup to kind of come together the way it did. For example, like getting the Be Fine instrumental, having the vocals extract cleanly enough to be used in a mashup, and using a lot of editing techniques that aren't really precedented in the world of mashups. So I'm quite surprised that this mashup was able to be completed at the end of it all. Even with Be Fine, when I originally found this combination, I was working with the full song, and I actually emailed Maddien and I'm like, hey, do you have any plans on releasing the Be Fine instrumental or stems? And 15 minutes later, after my email, he released the acapella. And through phase inversion, we were able to extract the instrumental, where we quickly began working on this mashup. So I'm going to be muting the instrumental in several areas before we kind of go into the editing stuff. So in the original song, the way that it was mastered is that the instrumental is very centered while the vocals are a lot wider. Whereas in the Japanese song, the vocals are centered and the instrumental is wider. So this produced a very narrow sound, and in order to compensate for that, I had to do a little bit of stereo separation, just a tad bit on Be Fine's instrumental. And for the vocals, because there are like 5 singers in this group, if you do stereo separation, it's essentially duplicating it and delaying it slightly, which becomes disorienting because 5 singers becomes 10 singers, if you stereo separate it too much. But in order to retain the coherency and, the integrity of the vocals, most of the stereo separation, or that stereo width, is achieved through the little effects I sprinkle here and there. Starting the mashup off, we have this yelling part, which sounds wonky in isolation, but altogether. This vocal chopping and screwing part took around 4 months for me to get it to where it is right now. I essentially went through all of Little Glee Monster's discography, and I tried to find areas where it was a cappella, and I even went through their live performances as well. And I essentially did polyphonic vocal chopping and screwing. It's like regular vocal chopping and screwing, but you explode all of the frequencies and you try to isolate, certain syllables and certain consonants to come together to make the sound that it is. This was done in a completely different project file, and that one's forever lost to time because my old computer crashed. So here are the sounds, and when you have it all come together, even like the s part, even that, like isolated consonants from the singers and all that stuff is quite complicated. I have no idea how I kind of did this. I don't think I could recreate it again, but that's essentially what it is. Moving into the part where things start to pick up. So, I still have the vocal chopping and screwing pattern, but I also have a filter on it that travels between the left ear and the right ear as it carries out. A lot of this stuff won't be noticeable, but it builds the size of the perceived space when you're listening to it. And here we go to this part where the drum fill comes in and, the vocals start saying ah. So this part is a combination between and I isolated one of the higher frequencies just to give it a little bit of brightness. And I think it turned out pretty fine. There's a little sound here that is kind of an Easter egg in the original B Fine. In the original B Fine, you actually hear Maddie like open a pop can and like take a drink and exhale. I recreated that, but with a real pop can. I recorded this is like I opened up some sparkling water and I got a voice clip of Uraraka exhaling from the show, and that's that sound. Just to kind of bring you into the vocals. That's more of an Easter egg than anything. So this part right here, it's very hard to actually get that certain syllable, or that certain syllable on its own, because a lot of the times the song has like key changes, and it also has overlapping vocals that bleed into other parts. So what Shoopfix did was he went into like some kind of like spectral layers, I think, and he was able to like isolate the one vocal to make it clean. So here we have a little bit of delay and a little bit of stereo separation, just to give it that feel of of wideness. And a lot of the challenges with editing this a cappella comes from the amount of vocal density there is. And when I say density, I mean like the amount of words that are being sung per minute. So, how do you retain the integrity of the vocals while, making it somewhat heavy-handed, or to build the size of a room in a certain way, the perceived space, I mean. And a lot of it had to do with, some delay and some reverb. And to kind of like fit it all into the parts where they're not really singing. See, right here. So right here, in order to, like, when the instrumental kind of picks up, I have a little transition here. This is me playing my kalimba. I bought a kalimba during quarantine, and it's a neat instrument. You guys should like check it out. And a little bit of reverse, just to give a little bit of sparkle to that high end, because the vocals predominantly reside in the mids to the upper mids in this song. And I also do a little bit of stereo separation, a little bit of left and right panning. And the reason why is to make some space for this part, which is a little chop part, and I think it sounded pretty cool. So, just some really, hard panned sounds. And I think that together with the instrumental, it kind of sounded pretty good to kind of prepare you for more edits in the later part. More delay. This is a part that like no one will notice. This is like some like breathing sample that pans between the left ear and the right ear, just to give it a little bit of texture and to make it feel a little wider. Even though like no one will really notice this, I just put it in there because it felt empty without it. Well, not empty without it. I felt like I needed something there. Some reverb and so this part's pretty neat in that it's like a chop, and so that's just a chop, and I used Harmor to kind of bring it down in pitch as it goes on, just to add some intrigue and a little bit of variety. A little bit of delay there, a little bit of wide reverb there, and here we have this neat little vocal effect. I'm not entirely sure how Shoopfix did it. Apparently you can do this with the default reverb. I just wasn't too sure how he did it, but anyways, whole bunch of other effects. A lower part, just to give a little body to it. Some sparkle. This sample, this cymbal. So when Shoopfix came over, we went to a music store, and he's like, "Hold on, let me sample this." So he goes and he like drags his finger along a cymbal and gets the audio clip for that. I'm like, you know what? Let's sample that. And we did. And here's some white noise. I used that kind of to it's like an actual recording of my my sleep machine. Like it's a machine that makes sounds to help me sleep. So I sampled that. Here's some reverse reverb. You know, left ear, right ear, makes it really wide. Some lower part here. So this part, Shoopfx was able to isolate one vocal from this part, and from there I was able to get a clean form and shift, and also, you know, having more, you know, I bring back the all the other vocals, and that's form and shifted as well, just to give some body to that part, because the original Be Fine actually has a similar effect like this in the original, and, you know, a little bit of form and shifting down, leading into the chorus, well, the pre-chorus right here. So in order to prevent crowding in the center stereo field, the vocals, well, the verse vocals go a little bit towards the right ear, whereas the other vocals come from the left ear. So that was just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of subtle panning just to make a little more space for everything. There's the same symbol. And going into the chorus, we have this piano right here. So there's a volume envelope here where the piano gets muted, and the reason why is so that the piano from the original Be Fine can kind of play all the way through, and then the piano comes in. This piano arrangement actually comes from the counter melody of the Little Glee Monster song. In the chorus, the trumpet actually plays this part. But to kind of fit it in the context of Be Fine, the counter melody is a piano. So you know, just a nice little effect there. So right here, it actually pans really quickly between the left ear and the right ear. Melodyne likes to do that, where things are panning between the left ear and right ear really quickly. And this is just to give certain emphasis on certain parts and make certain parts sound a little more wider. Moving on, we have the build up to the first drop. So here we have, and you know, to kind of have the chorus vocals hold your hand, I drop the volume, make some space for the chants, but then you can still hear it in the background. And that's just, you know, cut and looped. And all together, actually, there's this. This is a riser I made in another project file. It's literally this sound, but I like pitched it down, and then I used like a riser to, not a riser, I used like a slider note to kind of bring it up. I think I used Harmer for that. Anyways. And then we're back to the us, no us. And I increased the reverb here just a tad bit, just to open up a little more and blend a little better with the instrumental. And here we go to the first lead. So, as much as we liked Melodyne's lead, we felt like, you know, because this is a collab mashup and, you know, we want to have as much of ourselves in it as possible, that we should, you know, kind of recreate our own lead that takes some inspiration from Melodyne's, but is kind of ultimately our own. So Shoopfx did the sound design for this part, and the intent is to kind of follow the original lead in this position. The instrumental here was just looped. It's literally a loop from the first half. And even though the original Be Fine actually has a little more, has a different bass line for this part, if you loop it and, you know, have the lead take the center stage on that, you kind of don't really notice it because I tried to extract the wavy part from the original song and it didn't come out that cleanly for this part specifically. With how I mastered this, we have this one, and that's like right up in your face. Well, not so drastically up in your face, but it makes its presence known because it's a little bit more centered than this. This one makes up for the width and the low end. This one makes up for the mids and actually more like the high ends in the whole kind of frequency spectrum. And here I duplicated it, ran it through a high pass, and I put a gross beat on it just to give it a little bit of texture so it doesn't sound too glassy, and ultimately sounds like this. And we have a little bit of sidechain, ducking the volume of the sounds every time there's a kick drum so as not to overcrowd and, you know, weaken the strength of that kick drum during the climax. There is one area where the percussion changes in B fine, and it's right at the end. So in order to get that change, but keep this part, you know, free from the original lead, I do a little bit of chopping here just to reconstruct it so that things carry through. And I extracted this percussion, and I used Izotope to just extract the percussion of this part only, just so that we can have a proper fill going into the second verse. So, and of course, I sample the cymbal from that Shoop and I got from the music store. So, and I think that turned out fine. This part right here, that's actually the guitar from All My Friends, which is another Maddien song. And in order to achieve that kind of slide down effect, I have a slider here. So it starts at a higher note and it kind of like goes down. And we go into the second verse. Now the second verse has a lot more vocal density in that the singer is constantly singing. So we were kind of wondering, how do we, you know, have a heavy-handed approach to editing with the singer being so dense in their singing, whereas the previous version the first verse had more dead space that we could work with delays and stuff. So we were listening to it and we wanted to kind of build up some of the high ends. So I was thinking, oh, you know what? Maddien likes to use birds. What if I went outside and recorded some birds chirping? So I woke up early in the morning, tried to record some birds, but I couldn't get a clean recording because of the wind. And I was talking with Shoopfex about this, and he was like, oh, hold on, wait a moment. And then 20 minutes later, he comes back with this audio file. And I'm like, shit, those are some really clean birds. How'd you do it? And apparently those aren't birds. That's literally him doing an impression of birds. And I just thought that was so hilarious. And I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, let's put that in there. So you can hear it, you know, really faintly in the background. For the, you know, that's the kind of like the mid-highs. We got the vocals that are predominantly in the mids. And to kind of cover the lows, I have some vocodecs that was done in another project file. And I essentially took certain parts of the verse and used a vocoder on it. And it pans between the left ear and the right ear to create that you know, that stereo wideness that the original vocals don't really have. And, you know, just like a robotic sound, and I thought that was cool. So there's another sound here I think is pretty interesting. This. That's actually Uraraka, and the reason why I put that there is because the original B fine actually has a woo somewhere in the background. So I was thinking like, oh, it'd be cool if Uraraka made that sound. So I found this from one of the episodes and I just sampled it and slapped some OTT on it and a lot of surgical EQing and reverb. I have a shelter excerpt here. Why is it there? I have no idea. I straight up, every time I heard this part, I thought of the shelter excerpt and I just had to put it there for some reason. Also, there's some side chaining on the bird impression. Moving forward, we have these little breaths penned between the left ear and the right ear. Really, I don't think anyone would hear it, but I don't know, I just like the texture of it. More vocoder, and moving forward. I kind of want to isolate the part, so I have, and then it carries off into the distance with a delay bank. And then this part where it says Yume, which is like, I think it's dream in Japanese. So it goes towards the right ear, and it sounds pretty crisp, but it's like in the background, so it kind of like trails off. And then bring the vocoder back a little bit so that, it trails to the right ear, vocoder comes in on the left ear. And the ka part, give it some to the left ear. And then the vocodex goes in on the right ear, so that it's like there's constantly elements that are panned to the left ear and the right ear to give that stereo separation to make up for the vocals being rather centered. Moving into the chorus, we have this. Now, I don't think I explained this part. These little kind of wavy things here, these sharp, pointy things, I actually send the acapella into a high pass, and it turns on at certain points. And with the high pass, it gives the vocals a little bit of sparkle, and the panning is just to, make it go between the left and the right ear to really give that crisp sound. So it's very subtle, but I use it other parts throughout the song, like the verses and all that. So this part right here, so this is the same counter melody from before. And the kind of intent was for, to achieve the counter melody, pay respect to the original source material from the Japanese song, but to have a sound that's kind of similar to the distortion used in B fine, and also use some of the sounds from Dream, 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 which is another Melodyne song. And I just think that it sounds really cool when paired with the instrumental. We also have some panning between the left and the right ear, just to make it a little more wider, because Melodyne likes to do that, to just alternate really quickly between the left and the right ear. Moving forward. So, just to make things a little interesting, a little bit of filter, a little bit of right ear panning, to kind of carry out. So this part is pretty neat in that in the original B fine song, it goes between B fine, B fine, B fine, but in the Japanese song, it's sagebe, which means like yell, and it landed on some pretty clean syllables, so I just looped that. And in order to kind of carry it into the next drop, I have a little bit of delay, a little bit of extracted delay. And that's that. Now, the second drop, it's almost like a miracle that we were actually able to achieve this. And the reason why is because I tried for like weeks to do phase cancellation. Like I tried every part of to phase cancel every part of the song to see if I could extract the second drop cleanly. And I wasn't able to, but when talking with Wobble, he said, yeah, hey, Izotope RX7 has a spectral repair function. And from there, you're able to literally break all the frequencies visually, and you can isolate certain frequencies and paint over them like you would in Photoshop. And from there, we were able to extract the second drop rather cleanly. Normally, there would be a really kind of in-your-face wavy sound there. And a huge part was to make it so that Shoopvex would have a lead solo in this part, and we went through over like 11 iterations of the solo, but what we settled on was having a solo that paid respect to the original Be Fine song, the original Little Glee Monster song, while also having some of our own expression in there. So this part, that is the that's kind of his solo. That was like a common thing among his versions. So we like that, and we also pay respect to the original Be Fine through that part, and then we quickly go to the motif of the Japanese song, and like right here, and then from here, that's kind of like a similar chop pattern to the previous part. What I like about this lead a lot is that there's a lot of vibrato in certain parts. And I just think that, it gives it a lot more life and dynamics. Literally surgical EQing on the instrumental just to make sure that everything fits correctly and that there's no kind of spillage of the original lead there. We have, the highs that give it a little bit of texture. The lows that kind of give it a little more stereo field, and of course we have the chants, and we also have the little Melodyne excerpt here that exists in the original song as well. It's not, we didn't want to put it too far in the front because the lead is the focus here, but anyways, so moving on to the bridge. To pay respect to Be Fine, my buddy Michael, who's credited as the guitarist on this song, kind of did a little bit of freestyle on this, and that's how we were able to get that, and it sounds really cool when paired up with a reverb. And leading into the vocals, a little bit of reverse reverb that pans really crazy between the left and the right ear. Okay. So to kind of open up the, the feeling that everything is like reverby and echoey, a little bit of kind of like delay snippets. And here we have a Nintendo Switch sample. I literally went to a Nintendo Direct and I straight up lifted this sound. The reason why I included the snaps here is because the original Japanese song in the bridge actually has snaps at these locations. And, I just thought it would be a nice little Easter egg to have the switch there. I just wanted it there. And here, there's a little bit of delay that actually pans hard to the right and left ear. Let me turn off the... And that's, just to give it a little bit of intrigue. Here we have my friend Becca singing a little bit, and I kind of did a little bit of effects and pitch shifted it. The reason why is because the original song has this, and without Becca's vocals, that part comes in a little bit too strong when paired with the Japanese vocals. But whereas with Becca's vocals on top of it, it massages that sound in place. Anyways, there's that. So to kind of give some intrigue to it, a bunch of compression and OTT, pan to the left ear, and my kalimba, that goes to the right ear. So my kalimba is tuned to C major, and this song's in E flat major, so I had to like transpose this to make it work, but I think it sounded good. Here, when everything starts to build up to the very last chorus, it becomes a lot more wider in stereo, and I kind of pan it between the left ear and the right ear, and you can kind of hear it like this. And that's that. Lots of like, little volume automation stuff just to make sure all of the, all of the sounds sit in the right place. And moving on to the final drop, here we have. So a lot of this song, the vocals kind of sit on top of the instrumental. Like, I want to retain the coherency of the vocals, but I don't want it to be like perfectly mixed in as if like it was like, the original song. I like to have the vocals a little bit above so that it keeps the coherency of the mashup, which is another reason why I didn't sidechain the vocals, back here. Is so that, the people who are very focused on the vocals, if they were to hear the vocals duck at every kick drum, it's a little bit off-putting. And the way that certain syllables and consonants worked with the vocals, it didn't really work. That's why I didn't sidechain it. But one of the reason why I explained that is because the last drop here has a choir, and without our Shoopfex's choir, it sounds like this. And we wanted to kind of bring it up forward because the vocals are pretty forward. We wanted to bring up the choir forward. So what Shoopfex did was he isolated a certain part of the vocals and he did some pitch shifting. And I think that it sounds kind of weird on its own, but when mixed together, it feels like it fills it all out. I put a sidechain there, put a little bit of surgical EQing, and the panning, it pans between the left ear and the right ear really quickly just to give it that stereo feel as it tails off. Moving forward, we have that pattern again. And this goes to the very last chorus, which is the second half of the last chorus in the original Japanese song. And it just kind of worked out structure-wise because this is where Madian's vocals would have came in. So this part is quite interesting in that I have a kind of a reverse sidechain. So the whole song has a certain volume, right? And typically in electronic music, the kick drum will be mastered to 0 decibels. So what I did was I retained the kick drum volume, here at every kick drum, but every time the kick drum ends, everything else ducks in volume. And the reason why is to give space for the vocals so as not to overcrowd the frequencies and all that stuff. And also, we also have the, the end chop going in as well, and I put a sidechain on the vocals. And this is the only area that I put the sidechain on the lead vocals, just so that it could fit a little better and not, get a little too crowded and loud at the very last part. So Sagebe, that part, in order to have it transition cleanly, it goes like that, and I also have that part come in. So it's like, all the other singers are coming in. Just to give it a little bit more texture and everything's coming together. And right here we end it with I won't run away. I think that's what it translates to. One of the reasons why I put that there is because every time, it makes sense from a literary standpoint when they say sage be and it goes to the vocal chop yelling sequence. She doesn't actually, that part ends. She doesn't really get to finish there, and at the very end, I just felt like it was appropriate to have it, actually finish the sentence. So it gives a reward to, the very ending. So here we have some little vocal chopping and screwing. This is actually an extracted a cappella from Shoopfex's song Heart Boost, and I just chopped and screwed it. The sequencing of this kind of matches the kind of tin pan percussions in the background, and it's just to give a little bit of texture. And anyone who is familiar with Heart Boost, they might be able to recognize it. And of course, it pans between the left ear and the right ear frequently. Here's a little sample. That's of Shoopfex breathing. And he was trying to show me like an example, and I just isolated one of his breaths to just put it there. And here we have this part. This part's pretty interesting in that the original song Be Fine has a ha at this part, but I wanted Deku to say that. So I went through 10 episodes of Hero Academia just looking for the right sound clip of Deku saying something that had that level of energy. And I had a notepad of every time I heard a sound that was similar to it, I would write down the timestamp in the episode. But anyways, all of that just for this nice little sample here. And of course, this part was looped to get rid of the original ha. And to kind of close everything, I wanted like an organic instrument, so that's how I got my buddy Michael to play the very last part. Within this part, there's a little bit of delay, and delay to fill the voids, and you'll kind of hear it. So to kind of have the guitar hold your hand to the very end, delay and reverse. And I think that sounded cool. And to kind of prepare you for the vocals that are coming in, which are the last vocals for the Japanese song, I have this neat little reverse reverb again, but this is of a different part of the song, and this one pans a lot more drastically and is a lot louder. So all in all, it sounds together. It sounds like this together. And I use this kick drum here. Now this was actually extracted from Be Fine, and the reason why we had to extract this is because the original Be Fine has this like bird chirp that comes in at this part, and we didn't want to have that bird chirp there. So we used Shoopfex used spectral layers to kind of get rid of that. And at the very end, to make this mashup, really personable, and mean something to us, here's the sample of the first time I met with Shoopfex in person.
All right, cool. That was gonna be fun. Yeah.
So he didn't actually know I was recording it, but you can see from the date stamp, 2019, November 23rd. Like when I first met him, I had the whole intent of sampling our first meeting at the very end of this mashup, just to show, because it's hard to get your personality and give mashups a personable touch, and I feel like that kind of sells that idea. And also, the original Be Fine has like some birds chirping in the background. I'm assuming that's from like Madian's trip to like a forest or something, and he would just probably wanted to sample something in real life. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, to integrate a lot of real life components into it to make it more personable. Like subtle stuff like the pop can, my kalimba, the cymbals, and just a lot of sounds that mean something to us. Because even though a lot of it, won't be caught by, listeners, I just feel like the story behind it and just, having something special in it that speaks to us just makes the mashup mean more to us and, hopefully the listener as well. There are a lot of things that I didn't go through, like how all of the mixer channels were like kind of worked with, and a lot of the nitty gritties as to what these automations do. But I just hope that, by the time you see this, the video is already released, but I just hope that everyone kind of enjoys it and hopefully sees this video and appreciates all the work that went into it. For the artwork was done by Bluumi. She drew Deku here, just brilliant artist. I highly recommend you follow her on her socials because she's just so good. I love her colors. Her art's just amazing. Like from the start, I I knew I wanted to have her do the artwork, and I knew I wanted her to animate it. And I even got my friend, Very Tired Editor, to make the background move as well. The side banner over here, I did this. So there are different schools of thought as to how I wanted to handle the video. It was either make it similar to the music video or make it like a moving album cover. And I ended up going with the moving album cover just so that the visuals don't become too distracting, and so that it's, the focus is on the music. Madian uses a lot of things with hands and All My Friends and Be Fine. So this is a picture of Shoop and I kind of doing the handshake from the movie Predator. Handbroji and Shoopvex are icons. And here, like, is a whole bunch of, like, an homage to all of our old mashups. We have Home, You're a Puzzle, Safe from Rain, Color Washed, Dango Mouse, What You Drive, Platinum Level Circulation, Midnight Identity, Shonen of Nazareth, and Slice the Snake. Just kind of like a collection of what we believe are our best works. And, just to give the listeners, like, hey, do you remember this mashup? Yeah, we remember it, kind of thing. And yeah, that's ultimately it. Thank you all for kind of watching this project file walkthrough. And, we really hope that you worked on these mashups, because I've dropped hundreds and hundreds of hours into this, and, over the span of a year, and just constantly reviewing it every day. I just wanted this mashup to be absolutely perfect. And the reason why is because I'm treating this mashup as like a finale of sorts, in that as of right now, I don't have any intention on continuing to make mashups. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. That's kind of why, I'm saying it here rather than, at the upload, or making a special upload saying that, hey, I'm kind of, retiring from mashups. But hey, things can change. Maybe we can just call this like an indefinite hiatus. But as of right now, I feel like this mashup will stand side by side by the anime mashups that kind of defined this whole collective, and can hopefully inspire people to, make mashups and find fulfillment in that. I just really wanted to prove myself, and I wanted to do justice to, Shoopvex's works, and to have everything come together in a way that is very meaningful and personal to us, and, can be entertaining to people who are subscribed and who knows our history, and even outsiders who can just listen to a great song at the end. And I think that this is probably one of my best works, just because of how much of ourselves were kind of put into this mashup. So I'll try to make the project file available as like a downloadable link, along with all the stems, so you guys can play with it. But ultimately, I just want to say thanks for watching. And, Be My Hero, by the time you see this, it has already been uploaded to my channel as the 6th year anniversary of my kind of journey as a mashup artist through the name Handbrojians. So thank you, everyone, and take care. And if you want to talk about mashups, or if you want to learn how to make mashups, feel free to come to me, and I'll be more than happy to dedicate some time to you, as long as you make time for me. Take care, everyone. Have a good one. See ya. Bye.